Hello and welcome. Welcome to another installment of Gender Blending. My name is Paige, and I'm excited to be here today. I'm excited to have everyone here. Thank you for joining. Really looking forward to today. Really looking forward to every day that we do this. Um, I'm really digging into streaming. Gotta say, this is week 2. I'm still a very new streamer if you're new to the stream, but I'm feeling good about it. I'm really enjoying the process of learning. I am learning a lot in Blender. I'm learning a lot in Photopea. I'm learning a lot about OBS and video editing and so much more. And I am very excited to keep learning. So today we're gonna try something new again. We're going to try uh, just another different approach to the whole idea of just being on stream and doing Blender. And I just want to do some random stuff today. I want to do a couple random objects from my room. I have a project in process on stream right now. And what I'm planning on doing is we're going to try and make my room in Blender as detailed as possible. We'll see how it goes. I don't know how well things are going to turn out, but I have good feelings that we can't get worse at the very least, as long as we are trying our hardest and doing it all the time, right? That's how you learn. I'm hoping that this channel can be a place of support for trans people, non-binary people, and just anybody out there who's kind of having a hard time or feels misunderstood. Anybody who maybe wants to learn a new skill. I'm here to chit chat while I work. I'm here to talk about my life, my feelings on things. I did double major in music and philosophy. I also have done quite a few different things in my life, so I think I have some interesting things to talk about, and we are going to just kind of start getting into it, and I'll just ramble tonight. I'm going to switch to our full screen with webcam shot, and I might actually change my mic just a hair, just so that it's facing me a little bit better, and so it's a little bit closer for when I'm speaking, because I've noticed that the sound tends to be inconsistent, even though I've gotten some compliments on my sound. Um, I do have a tendency to move away from the microphone, and also this microphone, um, it's pretty good, but there's a definite like difference in sound from here to like right here, and this is like the 3 inches that I'm constantly crossing, and so we're still figuring this out. There's something about having a microphone in the middle of your shot that is just not ideal, but at least this is like kind of a nice looking microphone. And one thing I do like about it right now is that we have this sweet blue kind of reflecting off of it right here, with the purple on that side and the yellow over here. It looks nice. I'm pretty happy with how things look tonight. And the other night, my roommate did my hair, but I did it all by myself tonight. It was really good. Okay, let's get out of OBS. We've done that enough. We don't need we don't need to set any more timers. We can just go right into Blender. And I took a couple of pictures so that we have some stuff to work from. But we're just gonna kind of have fun generally. So we're gonna open up a new file. And oh, my chat isn't up. Let's pull that back up. I do have a second monitor and I can see chat, but it's on the side. And actually give me one moment. I'm just realizing that my door is open, which poses no problem at this moment. However, if someone comes in, then we are going to hear the front door very, very clearly. So I'm going to close the door and I'll mute my microphone to do so. One moment, please. Fortunately, the door is not very far from my seat. Okay, so we're just gonna do some easy stuff tonight because I just felt like trying some new stuff, getting some other projects underway. I'm changing my own microphone volume. I'm trying to turn the playlist slightly up. I did record some new music today that's going to be on the playlist. All of the music that is on this stream is me playing. Uh, they're not all the best recordings, but they're all songs that I love very deeply and that I play pretty well enough that I'm okay sharing them on stream. Kind of the whole theme of the stream is that I'm not going to be like the best at anything, but I have my hands in kind of a lot of pots, as it were. Okay, so what are we making today? I could go grab the object, but I'll just load the pictures. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna add our reference photos right into Blender. So how we're gonna do that is go to image and we're gonna go reference, and then we just pick what we want. And it should be under videos, I think. No, I'm wrong. It's on my flash drive here, and it is on my... Ooh, this is in a different order than my actual, here we go. I believe it's here, and I believe it's here. And I think we go into the camera roll here. Nope. Yes, I think it might be. I think it might be this. And here we go. These are what we are looking for. That's nice. And they're not the best quality photos, like I said, but they're gonna do for us. We really only need something to just like sort of... I'm gonna actually do that exact same thing again, just on looking straight on an axis in order to load it in such a way that I just have one less way to rotate it. Once it's in the plane, it makes it so it's like flat in front of you. And I was looking at the center of our planes at about 45 degrees, and there we go. Now we only have to rotate it on one axis, and the axis that we're gonna rotate it on is going to be the x-axis. So we're going to press R, and then we press X to limit the rotation to the x-axis, except I was wrong. It's the y-axis we need. Now we're rotating on that y-axis, this green axis right here. And so it doesn't even matter where you click in this program. As long as you click off of it, you can either right-click, or you can press escape, or you can just choose a random angle, and this will pop up right here in the bottom right. And you can just choose -90 degrees. In this case, it probably wouldn't have mattered even if it was negative or not. Okay, now we're gonna add our other reference images. We don't have too many because this is a super simple object. I thought that maybe because our box was kind of giving a little bit of trouble with the materials, that we would try another material, but we'll do some easier ones. One of these is a polished wood, and the other one is a little bit of a matte glass. And I believe that both of these materials, these textures, should be a little bit easier to recreate. However, the shapes themselves might not be as easy to recreate. I think this pink vase will be fairly simple to create, but I do think that our leaf plate is going to be a little bit tricky. But I'm looking forward to the challenge. And so we're going to put in a reference photo at the right angle this time. There we go. And because this is looking on it like at the top, we're gonna rotate it on the Y again, and we'll do 90 degrees, and we'll bring it just off the plane. That's where our thing will go. That's where our vase will go. And this isn't to scale. These aren't like perfect, but that's okay. With this program, it doesn't really matter as much, especially for what we're doing. It's not exactly the most like intense operation here. And my picture is also like, my camera can't get it like exactly straight on. So like this isn't the true height of the cylinder, but we're just like approximating here. So I think this third one came out the best probably. But again, we want to be right on the x-axis when we do this, so that it generates right in the way that we want. Okay, and here we go. That is it. Cool. And we are going to do G and then Z to pull this up so that our planes meet, and we'll do G and X so we can push it back just slightly, and again, it doesn't have to be perfect. Now we can scale it up so that it is the same size as both of our reference photos. We'll look at it on the x-axis so that we can kind of see it slightly better. And so we will bring it, again, it doesn't have to be identical, but we just want it similarly sized. That's pretty good. I like that. And so we'll bring this over slightly. And this shape should be rather straightforward to create, so I'm not too worried about not having all the exact dimensions here. And let's just make sure that our top is looking pretty good. We'll commit to just assuming the bottom is the standard size. I mean, our top kind of looks pretty good there, I think. And we can double check by pressing Z. And then we're looking down at the top here, and what we can do actually is in the object properties, we can go to visibility. Nope, that's not where it is. There is somewhere an option for opacity, and that's what we're gonna look for here. Here it is. You can click this in order to change the opacity, and if we bring this down, we can kind of lay it over the bottom circle and just see exactly how our shapes line up here, and we can see that it's definitely not perfect by any means, but it's also not that far off. It looks like we need to make our top one a little bit bigger if we want it to match up with the bottom. So we'll press S to scale, make it just slightly bigger, and then it needed to go up and to the left, so we'll press G and then X to bring it to the left slightly, and G and then Y to bring it up slightly. And that might have brought it like out of order in some ways, but closer in others. Yeah, and we've made it far too big. We can make it smaller, and we'll just leave it slightly opaque so we can kind of see here. Oh, and that looks really good. That looks really nice. That looks good. Cool. And it doesn't have to be perfect. Okay, nice. So now we're gonna add in our cylinder. And we do have the thickness of our cylinder, actually. I don't know if your cylinder can actually come hollow. And so what might be a better strategy could potentially be circle. I'm thinking. Yeah, I think that we would want to do a circle. And then what we can do is to scale it to the size of our base here, G and Y. And then let's go on the Z-axis. Let's see here. Kind of moving it right now, trying to get it centered before I scale it up a little more. There we go. And that's not too bad. It doesn't have to be perfect. I think that the top one was a little bit smaller, so we'll err on the side of small. Down just slightly. And I mean, that looks pretty good. Because this rim here has a little bit of margin for error in a way because the glass is so thick. So that's pretty good. Alright, now what we can do with our circle is we can extrude it. But in order to do that, we have to be in edit mode, and we have to select face. Oh, it doesn't have a face because it's a circle, of course. So go into edit mode, and okay, so that's the right thing. We will go ahead and select all the vertices, and then we're going to go on the x-axis and we're going to extrude up, and when we press E to extrude, we're going to press Z. And then it's going to make it so that when you're extruding, it stays on that axis. And so there's a couple options, and I think for how best to make this shape, and I think that the best and easiest option here is going to be bring this all the way up to approximately the size that we want. And we'll bring it up to about there because like we're just estimating. It does not have to be perfect. Bring it like kind of halfway between both of these corners since we know that the perspective is kind of doing one of these. I don't know if that actually shows up on camera well, but that's pretty good. I haven't brought any attention, but if you look on my overlay on the right side for you, there's an organization listed called House of Threes, and that's a queer collaborative that I'm just raising awareness for in my stream right now. It's gonna be a different one every month, and so if you like the content of the stream, then I really appreciate it if you could help them out. And also, if you want to give me a follow, that's really appreciated too, because I am trying to get affiliate. I'm trying to kind of take this seriously and produce a lot of content. I have so many ideas of things that I want to do, and I'm really enjoying this right now, and I'm really looking forward to some more. So this was the strategy I was going to do, is make a loop cut here. And what we can do is in this dialog box that pops up, you can change how many loop cuts you want. And since we're going to make a nice kind of smooth curve, I think we're going to do like 4 loop cuts because we're going to add modifiers to make it even smoother later. But we just want to get the base sort of curve. I think 5 might actually do better so that we have a middle thickest or thinnest point. And then what we're going to do is actually pretty straightforward. We're going to go to this top row, but we don't have X-ray selected. This X-ray button will make it so that when we do this, everything behind it that we don't see is going to get selected. So we're going to select all these vertices, and we're going to press S to scale it out, and it's going to kind of give us that first widened mouth shape that we're looking for. And then we're going to do that. Oh, you know what we can actually do is we can select both of these at the same time. Not only will we get both of these parts done at the same time, but it will ensure that since this object is symmetrical, sides remain symmetrical, which was another reason it was good that I did what do you call it? Extra loop cut to make it a non-number. Now obviously this is too big, but what I'm going to do is press G and then G again, and that should bring it down. Well, it did on at least that axis, and I'll just bring this to the top here. And this one again, I'll just try doing this alone, G and then G again. And you see we lost one vertice there, so that's destroying our topology. But we'll click that again, and we'll press G and then G again. And we lost another one. So we'll undo, make sure that we undo both of those moves. Okay, yep, we're doing pretty good. Make sure we have all these selected this time. Yep, it's looking good. Okay, we're gonna go on the x-axis, and we're gonna press G and then G again. Maybe that line is just directing us. Let's commit for now and bring this down to approximately where we're looking for it. Just about there. Well, we can actually probably bring it up even more. Oh wait, no, our sides aren't symmetrical now. I knew there was something wrong with doing that. Okay, so it's not scaling outwards the way that we want. And I'm trying to think of why that would be. Because when I press S, it scales out that way, but maybe if I press... Oh, I have an idea. Instead of scaling with the S button, I'm going to use the gizmo here. And what that will do, hopefully, I don't know if this will work, but we can scale just on this axis here. By clicking this box, it'll scale just along the X and Y. So the way this gizmo works is that like it sort of visualizes all the different ways that you can scale it. So if I click just on this red line, it'll just scale our object on that. And the way it's behaving is basically the way that I want it, so I think this will work. We're gonna go ahead and we're gonna just scale it out, and that's perfect. That's what we were looking for. However, with that being said, it's harder from this perspective to see if it's exactly as thick as we want, so we're gonna have to kind of go in and out here. I mean, that actually looks pretty good. And because we're just kind of going through this tonight, I'm not going to be a perfectionist. I'm just going to keep going. And so we'll take that and we will just make it a hair smaller. It did not need to be much more small. Except we should have also grabbed this one, because we are doing it at the same time so our shape remains symmetrical. It should just be a hair smaller, like I said. So we'll assume that's good for now, and we'll move the next ones in so that we can see what our curve really looks like. And our curve's probably going to change again because we're going to shade smooth as well. And we're going to add a subsurface modifier to increase the smoothness even further. And what those things are going to do is actually offset our shape a little bit from how we have it. So we don't have to be nitpicky about the shape. Now on this one, we can just press S because we're not keeping anything symmetrical. We're just bringing it in. And it's not going to line up perfectly with our picture, but that's okay. I actually think that looks really, really good. And knowing what the object looks like in real life, I know that that's basically what it looks like. So that's really great. And now I'm going to turn off our reference photos, which just hiding them, which you can do by turning off these eyes or closing them. That's really good. And now we're going to go back to the x-axis and we're going to grab all these bottom vertices. And what we're going to do is we're going to fill this. And the way we're going to do that is new edge face, or actually a better way is we can just press F. And there we go. Now we have a face on the bottom of our cylinder there. And the last thing that we can do, actually I think that was the last thing. I think we are all set to start adding modifiers. And so we can go back into object mode. And here's our shape for our vase that we've made. And the first modifier we're going to add is going to be a thickness modifier, which will, as you might be able to guess, add thickness. Now, I'm not sure how the thickness modifier is actually going to behave with our new face. It might mess it up, in which case we'll go back, we'll delete the face, and figure out the bottom of it afterward. But let's go and we will get our thickness modifier, which I think is in here. Let's see. Oh, it's not thickness, it's solidify. And I mean, to me, that looks like really good. Now, when you use solidify, even though it's creating thickness, and I'll make it thicker so that I can show my point here, even though it's adding thickness, one of the things about this that's important is that it does not add vertices on the outside. These are not actually vertices, it's just like scaling outward from our shape. And so that can definitely not be the effect that you're looking for in every case, but it is what we're looking for in this case. And what we're going to do is turn our reference photos back on, because now what I want to do is I want to see what our thickness actually was, because what we can do is go into object mode on our vase and we can scale it so the whole thing now that it has thickness is the same size as our reference photo and the thickness is the same size. So I'm going to press S to scale down the whole object size until it fits. And look at that, our thickness is actually pretty on point. And since we're not doing anything super serious, it doesn't have to be exactly perfect either. I mean, that looks really, really good. Cool. And height doesn't matter. The height isn't like real, really. It's actually like way bigger than it is in real life, but we can scale it down later. So that looks really good right now. And I want to see how the thickness or the solidify modifier reacts with the bottom. It looks like it goes outward, which is the better thing in this case, because that won't be like weird, or at least it shouldn't be. What does it look like rendered? So one thing is that it does have a very sharp edge to the bottom, and when we add a subdivision surface, maybe that won't happen as much, but it is a very rounded corner, there. We might be able to add like an extrusion and add another level there, but we'll play with it and we'll see. Another thing is that it looks like it's going outward with the edge there, and in real life it's just a nice smooth curve. It's also less thick on the sides than it is at the bottom, it looks like, but we'll just make it thinner in general. Like, it's probably only about that thin. And that looks probably pretty okay. But that might change our scale, so I'll go back here. Redo. Let's grab our circle, make it big. Whoop. Accidentally hit it. Cool. That looks good. Make it a little bigger. Okay. So far it's okay. The next thing I'm going to do is to add a subdivision surface modifier and just see what happens. And I'll shade smooth afterward. Okay, yes, and that did make our bottom weird. But let's see what happens first. I wonder what happens if we make even more. Yeah, that's interesting. What does it look like in Verticima? It looks kind of like nothing. Now what if we do shade smooth? Shade smooth actually doesn't look like too bad, but it definitely doesn't look perfect yet, by any means. I think there are some things that we can do to improve it. And actually the top looks like okay now. So what we can do to improve it is we'll press tab, and you'll notice that it's shading smooth because it's rounding off this corner all the way there. And the reason that it's doing that is because it's averaging the curve between these two vertices, between our bottom two vertices. So what we can do is we can actually add another loop cut, and we're going to do that by pressing R, or Control R, and you'll see that yellow line come. We're going to put that on there, and then we're going to bring it really close to the bottom. Not only is that going to flatten out our shape, so that the bottom is less curved, but it's also going to just look better in every way. And that actually looks really pretty good. I mean, that looks like our shape. It's a very basic shape. I literally chose this because it would be an easy example. But some of the things that I've been choosing, we've been working on this box on stream. And even though it looks like really simple, there are a lot of small things that make hyperrealism difficult with it. And so it's just taking me a really long time. I thought tonight we could do a couple of projects that might be able to actually get finished from start to finish on stream. Which, this one, we're already done modeling. I mean, this looks good to me. I can't think of anything else that we could even like do that would be like better, because kind of what I had in mind. So now we can just start to play around with the materials and actually shade it. I think one thing I will do before we do that is I'm going to add in a plane on the bottom. I'm going to scale this up, and I'm going to actually take our object and I'm going to scale it down. And I'm going to do that because both I want the plane to work on to like have reflections and stuff. But then the other reason is that I want this object to be the actual size that it is in real life, or at least close to it. And so I just figure we'll do that right now. And Blender does make it easy to check the size of things, and we don't need to be like exact about it. But we can just click this measuring tool, and then we can click from top to bottom, and it'll tell us. And so this is a big vase. This vase is still like 2/3 of a meter, a little bit more than that even. So I don't know any 2-foot size vases. It's probably about like less than half the size of that, like probably like that. And that's probably more vase size. And now we can make our plane much smaller. Let's do that and bring it a little bit closer to us. Okay. And a little closer still. Nice. Cool. Let's add some materials just to get some stuff happening in our scene. We'll start by turning down the roughness of this, and we'll change the color of it to maybe we'll do a fairly plain color, but I think I would like to choose something that's rather dark. That looks pretty good. And we definitely don't want it that rough. I was just kind of doing that for funsies. Um, and I do like it dark, but when it's matte like that, I kind of want it to be like a little less dark than that. Let's, yeah. Any of these really work. That's pretty good. I think that's cute. We're gonna be making it the color that it actually is, which is kind of like a magenta shade. It's pretty good. And I do suspect we might have some issues on the bottom of the shape because of how we did this. But that's what we're like here to learn about, and so that's why we're doing that. So it's cool. Pretty cool. And Blender is just cool in general. This is a free program. If you have any questions about it, that's what I'm here for. I am a new streamer, but I am not new to Blender entirely. I have used programs like this, and I've used Blender in the past. I've done a lot of tutorials, so... And I mean, I did study this in school for a while too. Not in college, however. This was actually a high school curriculum. I was lucky enough to go to a high school that let me practice 3D modeling on really nice computers, and that's how I know most of the things that I do, and it used to be much harder than it is now. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to change this. I think we're even going to get rid of this. Boom. It's going to turn black because there's nothing on it. We're going to take a shader and we're going to make it glossy, maybe? I don't know. Let's just see what that looks like. I think glass is more literally what we want, but actually glossy looks really, really nice. And then make it magenta. That's pretty good. Lower the roughness. That's neat looking. Immediately it's just like cool looking, but it isn't what we want. Because we want it to be like a frosted matte color, which it kind of already is. Like, honestly, this is pretty good, but we need it to be transparent, which I'm never sure how to add like that kind of an opacity, because I don't think opacity is how we want to do it. Let's see what we got under color. I don't think color is gonna help us here. And yeah, this is where I kind of thought we might lose it here, but that's not a problem. Oh, here's a transparent VSDF. And I wonder if maybe we can have two things plugged into it. Nope. Nope, we can't. What if we do it on volume and we put that on surface? I wonder what that does. And then what if we make this purple? It doesn't even matter what color it is because we can't even tell. We can't even tell. But when we do this, you can tell, however. You can tell that that's transparent. But you can't see anything. And then when you do this, it loses all of its transparency. So, not what we're looking for. Let's look it up, because that's what this channel is all about. Okay, well, I think we can kind of do that or better on our own, honestly. Honestly. Thank you for being here, everyone. This is Twitch's newest Transist Blender show. I don't know how many other Blender shows there are out there, but this one's mine. And I really appreciate you joining me for it. I hope that you're enjoying the process of watching me figure out how to make this vase. And I hope that you enjoy the music that I'm about to turn back on. I know I will. And this is Manuel Ponce's Sonata Romantica. This is the first movement played on guitar. And yeah, let's get back to this. I think we will use a glass shader because I think we can do some other stuff instead. I think glass might be better. And we'll put on surface and let's see what that looks like. Now we want to turn a little bit of roughness up. That already looks better. I mean, that basically did it, frankly. And then we can either turn, yeah, turning the reflections down is definitely good. Or maybe it's not. Maybe we need it more reflected. No. What is a 0? A 0 is like no reflections. That's kind of what it's like. A little bit. Let's go ahead And it is basically like one color, but we'll use a gradient just because gradients do tend to look more real in general. So we'll go ahead and we'll use a gradient here, and we can actually load up our reference photos here, and it'll be pretty handy because we can just reference our color immediately. And we'll look for like kind of the truest color spot on it that we can find, which is probably going to be up here. So we'll go ahead, we'll grab this, and we can use the eyedropper tool, and we'll pick the darkest portion, and then we'll add a couple of these, and we'll just pick a couple other spots on it that are a little bit lighter, just so we're getting like kind of a realistic gradient just by following this reference photo. Like something like maybe up here, or actually here would be a really good color, and then we'll add like 2 more. That is my phone going off there. Actually knew that someone was probably gonna text me back soon, but it's probably not a problem. It's probably not super heard in the microphone here. Okay, and we probably want very little like actual white. We'll add one more that is like very, very close to white. But we want very little white. We're basically gonna grab that. Yeah, that's really good. We'll just do that. And let's see what that looks like when we go ahead and zoom in. We can turn off our reference photo. And we might need to change exactly. Oh, whoops, we turned off circle by mistake. And we can press 1 to center our camera on it nice and easily. And here, now this is the fun part. We get to press color and connect it, and we'll see our result here. Oh, and very clearly we are way too purple. So what we can do is bring this down. We want not very much purple. We want it mostly pink. And that's much closer, but it still isn't quite pink enough. It's like a little too white. And so this is okay. I think we'll take this one and we'll make it a much more pink color. And we'll just like kind of manually choose based on what we see here. I think it should be a little more like clearly magenta. That's pretty close actually. Maybe a little further in the middle here. What do we think? Yeah, I think that's pretty good. That's pretty close to what it looks like in real life. My phone is going off. I don't even know where my phone is. Oh, it's right down there. Okay. Cool. I wonder what the other ones of these look like. Whoa. That is pretty sharp. That's for sure. And Beckman. Beckman kind of looks... Oh wait, is that what we were on? I think that's what we were on. Is there even a difference between GGX and Beckman in this case? It looks like there's a very minor difference. And then multi-scatter GTX. There's a difference there. Okay, so we'll leave it on Beckman. That looks the best. And it still isn't great. It's very flat and sheen. We definitely have a matte, like frosted type thing. I'm looking over at it, and it definitely is a little bit transparent, a little translucent. We might be able to change that some other ways. Okay, so let's go ahead, and we're gonna add like a little frostiness to it. And the way we're gonna try is by adding a noise texture, and we're gonna connect it to a bump node, and it'll give the surface like a slight like bump texture. I learned this last episode of the show is that if you press Control T, it automatically creates these 2 nodes called texture coordinate and mapping. And you need these for like most bump maps that you're doing. So super handy that that's a shortcut, and it's obviously why they did it. You do need to move from generated to object, and like we might not even need a mapping node at all. But now we need a bump, which is under converter or vector. I always forget. There we go, vector. And So we'll plug factor into height, and then we're going to plug normal into normal. And then we should see a difference on our surface here. Might not be what we're looking for immediately, but it might look... Yeah, see, so that's very obviously very rough. We definitely don't want it that rough, but that's what we do when we turn up the scale a ton. And you see it's still extremely rough. It looks more like sandpaper than anything. Let's put it at 100 just so we have a round number, and then we can turn the strength and the distance down on the bump, and it might be what we're looking for. And so even just like 0.03 maybe is pretty good. And then we could turn the distance down to like 0.5, just bring it down half and see what that looks pretty good. I think that it could be even finer. It's like a very, very fine frosted look. We could turn detail up and that might do it. Detail did not do it. Distortion? Distortion did, but that's really great. We'll just put it at 10 to have an even number. And that looks pretty nice. And the bottom of it looks weird, but it kind of looks like that in real life too. And we actually do have the reference photo of it. I can turn this off and I can turn our plane off. I can put on this reference photo on the bottom. Where is it? That one. Nope, wrong one. We do want the top one, it turns out. Which is that one. There. So let's go up. And yeah, so it is like perfectly just circular here. And it looks like there's another circle here, and it is clearly transparent as well. Not on the sides, however, really. Like a little light gets through, but not very much. So we want to fix the edge, that's for sure. I have an idea for it. I don't know if it'll work. And then outside of that, the only other thing I can think of is this edge here could be improved on, because that edge is like clearly defined as a separate thing. So I have an idea for that at least. And we'll go back to layout mode and we'll click period to just zoom in on our object. Whoop, didn't mean to click that. No, we don't have our object visible. That's our thing right now. Here's our, there we go. Cool. I'll put this back on solid view for a minute. I'm gonna click it and press tab to go into edit mode. And I'm gonna add another loop cut to the top. And what that's going to do for us is give us some geometry to work with for both shading and also for giving it like a rounder look maybe, potentially. I'm gonna press Control R, take that loop cut and move it right up here, and look at that, it does give us a little rounder of a look. And now we can probably shade just those portions. And it does look better. Hold on, let's see what it looks like. When we go off of it, you're not gonna be able to tell. Yeah, that definitely looks much better. That looks much, much better in that regard. The bottom still doesn't look quite like we want it. Oh, that was an improvement. I haven't saved our file at all, so let's save this. It's on stream, so we will go add a new folder, and we will call this vase folder. And we'll call this vase. And soon it'll be vase 1, vase 2, vase final 3, vase final for real this time, 10 is how most of my file names end up going. And so then, here's another thing that we want, is we want to see what we can do on the bottom here. Like, can you add a loop cut to the inside of a circle? Looks like you kind of can. No, that's one of the sides there. Yeah, you can't. Okay. I'm just brainstorming some options here. see. I wonder what a multi-resolution modifier would do. I feel like it wouldn't be good. But let's see what happens. One of the things I was hoping it would achieve would be to add vertices to the thickness, and it totally didn't do that. But also, to be fair, it went before these things, not after, so we can pull it down and see. But yeah, no, it still did not do that. Okay, so we'll... Oh, hey, it didn't stay at the bottom. Cannot move beyond a non-deforming modifier. Oh, whoops, okay, so then we'll close out of that. So we can't even do it on that. Let's see what happens if we add another subdivision surface level. Nothing happens there. Okay. See. Corners. Use custom normals. Interpolates existing custom normals to resulting mesh. That might be one thing we're looking for. That didn't work. Okay, let's go to our thickness and just see what we have here. Normals. High quality. Nope. Flip. Nope. We'll see. Edge data. Crease, outer, rim. I'm just seeing what this does. I literally don't even know if I'm being honest. Definitely is changing the crease of our rim. That's for sure. I don't know if it's in a desirable or undesirable way. It's undesirable because we want it to be rounded. And that's not helpful. That's not changing it on that side. What about down here? Not changing anything? Not really. Okay. That's not helpful for us right now. That's alright. And this might just be the shape that we end up with for now. And I might like look up things during the week to see what we get. And we might even just take a break soon and just start working on our next object, which is going to take a little longer than this one. I just wanted to do a kind of simple object to start. But we're not even really done like checking it out and stuff because we can put our plane back in. Here's our plane, and where's our camera? Is out here. We are gonna lock our camera to the view so that when we move around in the viewport, our camera moves with us. So there we go, our camera is moving with us, and it lets you really easily decide on a camera angle. So here we go. This is Cafe 1930, which is Astor Piazzolla, some of the best tango that's ever existed ever. This is me playing with a flute player named Harry, who is really cool. Okay. One other thing we are going to do. That was me with that guitar riff, by the way. It was very cool, I think. And I still think it's cool this day. Okay. We do want to bring our light to a more reasonable spot. Bringing it down, bringing it over. Boom, bam. And that flute is a little bit strong. I think I might turn it down a little, even though it's beautiful. I do love flute. But we'll turn it down slightly in just a moment after we turn down this light as well. And I lost my cursor. G and Y. G and X. G and Y again. There we go. G and X. And that's kind of the angle that we want. Okay. Oh wait, actually that's not our camera. Oh, that's good. That is good. Okay, let's turn down the flute just slightly. That's pretty good. And so if you're just joining us, my name's Paige, and we are making a vase that is in my room as part of a continuing project to make everything in my room in Blender. I'm not exactly the best Blender person, but the whole point of the stream is that I am learning. And I'm going to create another light by pressing Shift-D to duplicate it. And this light is going to go behind it in order to illuminate it from the back here. And move it over on the Y just slightly still. And I think I'm going to give this a little bit of a color. Just make it like kind of nice, even though that's going to throw off how we perceive it in the render. But that's okay, because we're just having fun anyways. And, whoops, it is not locked to the cursor for some reason. So we will go ahead and do that. And that's pretty good. And then, final thing that we're going to do here, just really quick, is we're going to go on to cycles, and we're going to choose GPU, complete. And then, oh, our noise texture is coming out a lot more here. We can turn max samples down to 500, and we'll turn min samples up to 50, and we'll do that on both of them. 500 seems okay. Sometimes I do like 100 or 200 as per Blender Guru's recommendation, but I kind of like doing more too. We can do denoise to kind of improve our image quality on the fly, which is pretty amazing. And that looks pretty good. So let's go ahead and render it and see what it looks like and see how far off from real life we are in a rendered version of this thing. And we're not like incredibly far off. The shape looks pretty good. Color looks alright. However, we are definitely going to want to make it translucent if we want it to be realistic. And so let's look up how to make things translucent easily. That's something we're just gonna learn here. Looks cool though. We're gonna go back to Eevee so that things don't take forever to load up constantly. Let's see where we're at in the stream. We have been recording for 1 hour and 3 minutes. Oh, and I haven't been recording. That is something I chronically do. I will have to get this from the stream later, which is okay. This means it's going to be a lower quality YouTube video. Okay, so we're going to go to Google Chrome, and we are going to look up how to make objects translucent. Blender 3. We don't want viewport transparency. Here's a basic material transparency. Let's turn our music down a little bit here. Hard to listen to videos. Oh shoot, I wonder if that was all doubled music because the desktop audio was up. That's very possible. I'll have to check that later. I'm still figuring out OBS. I'll turn my desktop audio off after we reference this video. We have to unwrap it. And that a material is assigned. Okay. Mm-hmm. Ah. I don't know if we even need it UV unwrapped. Like, the last one said we were gonna do UV stuff too. I feel like I do know how to do that. You just create seams. And this object should be pretty easy to unwrap, in theory. But, let's see. Let's click our circle here. If we click our circle, and we go here, if we press tab, and we go to edge mode, no, yeah, and the UV editing, which is not good. We have to go here, we have to go to make it solid mode, tab to see vertices, and now if we wanted to UV unwrap this, I just want to see if I'm right. We click Alt with an edge to grab the whole edge down, and we're gonna right click and we can click Mark Seam. And then we click our very bottom edge right here. Make sure that's the right one. I think it is. So we'll do Alt click to get the whole thing. And we will do, that might have clicked the whole face by mistake. Oh, it's just gonna do that. Okay. We do Mark Seam again. And then if we go back to UV unwrapping, we might have to mark seam at the top too. Maybe we don't. I'm always like really not that good at seeing UV unwrapping, so let's see here. What happens if we select all and then UV unwrap? Let's see. Okay, so I think that if we're gonna unwrap it, we actually do have to do the top. So we'll go back to layout mode. This isn't even important. This is just me practicing how to do layout mode, and didn't work because I had selected like half of the shape. But I think we should click this top seam, or well, top edge, and we're going to make it a seam. When it's red, that's how you know it's a seam. So we'll do mark seam. And now let's go to vertex mode. Let's click all of it. Let's go to UV editing, and then let's right click and let's do unwrap. Or well, I guess we'll go to UV. Oh, it's just U. So let's press U to unwrap it. Unwrap. Hey, look at that. It actually did unwrap beautifully for us. We don't need that though. We literally don't even need it. Um, that was just to see if we did it. This is what UV unwrapping looks like, and what this lets you do is that if you wanted to make it like very specific, you could just paint right on wherever you want, and it'll just look beautifully exactly where you want it. It's a very helpful tool. I'm glad that I remembered how to do it. That was a good tutorial for myself on screen. So that's cool. Glad that I was able to do that. And so we're gonna go back to the shader and we're gonna do what this person said about using a mix node here. So we're going to add and we're going to go to shader, and it's a mix shader that is going to go in between here. And now we're going to add another shader for probably glass. Oh no, we already have glass, so we will add another shader for translucent, I guess, or transparent. No, translucent's better than transparent. So there we go, and then we will put that on the shader. And then let's see. Let's see what our object looks like. Not not great. That's not exactly what we want, but it's actually not like technically far off either. Um, let's see what it looks like when it's rendered in camera and when it's on cycles. I mean, it looks interesting. That I think it's because the color is wrong. I think we need to make it a much lighter color. I mean, honestly, the outside of that looks really good. Let me go get the bowl that I'm talking about. I'll be right back. For the vase. Cool, and this is what we've been trying to make on stream. A little dusty, but I'd say we came pretty close. The color is a little bit too light, but the transparency is like perfect right now, and the glossiness is really nice too. I'm really proud of myself for making that. Thank you for joining. If you are, we just sort of finished uh, this project, but we're gonna tighten it up by fixing some colors. But that's gonna be all we really have to do. It's not even gonna be very tricky. Go into Blender here. Let's close out of the camera. We'll go into shading, and really the biggest thing we need to do is we can click the eyedropper tool and we can choose this color, and we will actually make it a little bit more washed out, a little whiter because it's a reflection. And that should do it for us. That should honestly probably do it. Let's go into rendering and let's press render now. Wow. Nice. Um, I think our colors are still, I don't know, our colors are pretty good, right? Seems to me like the reflections are a little too strong still. This is a very matte surface, and it almost looks like a little not translucent enough. So let's go back to shading, and we'll put on rendered mode so that we can kind of see what we're working with. Let's turn IORs down all the way. Yeah, we definitely don't want it. Well, maybe we could turn it up more. There's no limit. I just kind of want to see what it looks like even. And then the other thing that we can do is we can make it more translucent as well, which I think we need to do. Let's put it on 0.8. Let's see what that looks like. we'll just keep going back and forth and kind of seeing. Interesting. This is this is what we are trying to make. Uh, and it's definitely not there yet. Definitely not there yet. Um, Colors are a little bit too vibrant, a little bit. The edges aren't quite matte enough. Sides, I should say. Try that. And what else could we do here? I think that might be good, potentially. Okay, let's press F12 again. And we'll see. It's definitely more matte now, that's for sure. Now the color is definitely too light. We don't want that light of a color. This is too much. We need to bring this down. It needs to be not only more washed out, but it needs to be like darker. We'll bring it darker and we'll make it a little bit more. Yeah, that. Bring this. No, let's bring this down. Hmm, maybe something like that. I do kind of like this like weird color we have in there. I think it'll work. And what happens if we turn this down all the way with the roughness up? Doesn't look very good. Hmm. Definitely looks better with syrup. I mean, it looks pretty good. It looks pretty good. It needs to be darker. It needs to be more translucent still. Hmm. I'm sitting here and I'm just trying to think about it. I think this needs to be darker still. I Oh, well, actually, this reflection color might need to be darker, is what it is. Yeah, that's definitely a lot better. That's way closer to what it looks like. That's cool. And then, yeah, 0.8 here looks really good for that. Turn the roughness down a little. That is starting to get there. That is really starting to get there. Turn the IOR down. What if it's at 0? What does that look like? I don't know. Let's press F12 to render it and see. Oh, wow, that's looking a lot closer. And this is what we're trying to make. So, honestly, I'd say that we did a really good job. Um, it might not be transparent. Uh, we could test that by putting an object behind it in the scene. I'll do that right now. Make a mesh cube. And I'm gonna press S, scale it down. I can't see what I'm doing, so I'm gonna go to layout and zoom out and make it smaller. And we're on render mode, so this is kind of lagging a little. Okay, zoom in. And now, this is just to see what it looks like if it renders behind. Let's make this metallic. Let's make it like as if it's like a weird, like kind of gold type of thing. A gold ingot. Or that looks kind of like an ingot. Turn the roughness up slightly more. Okay. Because this is just so that we can see if we can see behind it, which right now it doesn't look like we can. It's also very dark underneath it. Um, I think we should get another light that's like very dim we're gonna press Shift D on the light. Just make that light. We're gonna put the dimness down to like 10. Super, super dim. And we're gonna put it underneath our shape here. The way we'll do that is pressing G on this axis so that we can just move it that way. Then we'll move to the Y axis and move it under on this direction. Then we'll go to the Z axis, make sure it's under that regard. It looks pretty good. Cool. And yeah, that looks nice. So let's raise this up a little, G and then Z. And this is to see if we can see the light through the bottom. And if you look in here, you can't see straight through the bottom, but you can see that the edges have like worn away, and you can see through the side of it a little bit. I'm sort of just not counting that because that's like such a fine detail and would take so much long. But this looks actually really good in some ways. It's still just like not very transparent. And so I think we might try to do one more thing here under shading. And I think I'm going to try and add another mix shader, because this is one of the powers of this program, is that you can really layer things on top of one another. Do another mix shader. And then this time I'm going to add a translucent PDF. Oh, we already did translucent. I'll do transparent just to see what happens. Put it there. Whoa, that might have been it. We just need a nice dark color. We'll share that color. And turn the factor up. That's definitely transparent. Hey, that looks pretty good. You can definitely see the metal through it. Let's go to our camera. And we're going to go to layout mode so that we can position our camera well. Press N. We'll bring up this toolbar. We can click lock camera to view. And get our metal behind it here so that we can see it. And now let's also look at the light. Yeah, you can kind of see light through it. Okay, so there we go. And now we're gonna press render. Thank you all for joining us for rendering this vase. It's coming out pretty well, I think. It looks pretty good. I think I'm not even sure what other improvements we could make. I think maybe it should be a little less translucent now. But I don't know. When something is like right behind it, you can kind of see right through it. But that might be a little bit too transparent still. Might be a little too transparent. So what we can do is lower this factor down to like 0.575. That looks a lot blurrier. Let's try 0.5, which is what it was at initially. That looks pretty blurry, which is what we're looking for. We might be able to do even better. I think just for sake of adding a little bit more drama here, I'm gonna add a checker texture. I like doing a checker floor. It just like is cute. And you know, why not, right? Why not do that? Checker floors are pretty tight. Okay, now we have a checker floor environment. And we'll take that checker floor, we'll bring it up. Gonna block the light, which is possibly a good thing. We're gonna see the shape in a different way now. Okay, and go back to layout and pan over just slightly. Get it more than, all right, let's go to the left. I don't like that light shining there. Which light is it? You can always turn off lights to find out which one's affecting it. That's definitely the one that's creating that. So what we'll do is we'll turn the radius of the light all the way up with fewer bounces, lower the power. And now it's going to be a lot more gentle. I'm also going to turn the color off of one of these lights because that's just messing with what we have going on here. I want to see the true color of our shape. And that should be pretty good. I think that's going to be good. Let's press F12 to see what it looks like. And we're only rendering 500 samples, which for this is not that many. One thing that I don't like about this right now is that you can see the thickness on the sides, which is something that you cannot see in this shape. And that might have happened when we added the translucency or transparency. We might be able to fix that real quick. Go back to shading. I mean, it doesn't look bad. It definitely does not look bad. We're pretty close to what we want. Does turning this up help that? Or does that make it worse? It looks like it made it worse. So maybe we could actually turn it down and see what that looks like. And no, we can definitely still see it. But I don't know if we'd be able to see through the edge without that modifier. Or see through the side. Another thing we can do to just experiment is we can take this off for a second and render it without it again. And this is just what we had before. And so now it's not transparent at all. We literally like can't even see through it. There might be like a hint where we can kind of very slightly see it. Also, the edges just look worse generally. But I'm wondering what would happen if we take off translucent even and move transparent over to the first one and just use a transparent one and just see what that looks like. Let's see. And that does give us that same edge issue that we had before, but it kind of does look a little bit more realistic. It's still very strong, like you can see through this shape very clearly, so I think we're gonna turn it down very slightly. Because it should be like a little bit, yeah, blurry, just like that, and maybe that'll stop us from seeing the edges so clearly. Yeah, that actually did kind of stop that. This is what we're trying to make. And it looks pretty good. Now I think it might be a little bit too dark of a color, which should be pretty easy to change. Only at 192 samples, so it's gonna keep getting better, but I'll just keep clicking out so that we can fix some of this stuff. And so what we can probably do is make this a little bit lighter of a color. Yeah, we'll go with just the hair lighter. The hair lighter, and then let's also change the factor here to be greater, maybe? I don't know if greater was the right choice. Let's render it and then let's add translucent back in and see what happens if we switch the order of translucent and transparent. I'm not sure what the difference between those two things is, if I'm being honest. The edge is really good, but the sides are not great. Because you can't see the inner line there in real life. Let's see what happens if we add translucent in. Kind of does look better. Kind of looks better. Maybe a little less than that. And perhaps the translucent should be a slightly lighter color. Just slightly. Really, really slight. Let's try that. Let's see. And we're still getting that edge thing. Yeah, I'm not sure how we could like lower the thickness of it, but then that might not look right. I think it might be able to be a hair thinner anyways, which will help, but that's not like the ideal way to fix this. We're past the hour point here, so I probably should take a break soon just to make sure I'm doing pretty good. Let's put this at like 0.04 thickness. I think that'll be a little bit more realistic. And maybe we turn up this a little bit. The hair. And Maybe if we turn this off just a little. Well, why don't we try that? Let's see, just see what it looks like. This is kind of the stuff that I'm looking forward to the very most. Just messing around and trying to see this, like the effects and stuff. I feel like we're less realistic than we had it before. I feel like it was very realistic and that we've lost some realism, which is unfortunate. Obviously, not the direction that we're aiming for. Not always. Normally, we're aiming for better, typically. Typically. And the music is off again. I could just talk forever without music, like it's really no problem. And thank you everyone for joining us. I hope that you're having a really good time watching me mess around with shading and Blender right now. I mean, it doesn't look bad. It doesn't look terrible. Um, for a Blender noob, like I feel like it's really not that bad. I feel like there are some other additions that are kind of small that we can make, and Blender just straight up crashed on me. Fortunately, there is an option in Blender. Not the first time it's crashed on me. You can recover your last session, and in this case, it just recovered the entirely wrong project. And so, uh, that's like interesting. It's never closed on me and not had the recent project. 4-5. I think that's what we were doing the other day. Let's click vase and see where we are. We might just go ahead and uh, I keep seeing that picture and it's like it tricks me into thinking, oh, like it looks literally realistic. Yeah, we definitely lost the things that we had done before, but fortunately we didn't actually lose very much. Because like really the biggest things that we did was add this mix shader, and then we added uh I might try a glossy and a trans transparent. I think was better. I think transparent was better, but we'll do glossy as well. So we're gonna add a transparent texture. I keep saying I'm gonna go on break, and I like probably should, but like I also really am eager to see how this comes out. So we're gonna add our transparent here, and we're gonna add another mix shader. We're gonna add a glossy, and this is a totally new thing. We have not tried this yet. So we're gonna click that, and now we're gonna add a glossy shader, and let's see how that looks. And we lost our little gold ingot that we added, which we probably should add again. I was kind of into it. I was kind of into having it there to assess how things were. I think this time, yeah, why not? Let's do an icosphere so that we get like some interesting geometry at least in here. And let's do GZ, bring it up. And it is behind like our camera view a little bit here. We'll just move it a little further that way. Bring it down a little. There we go. Just so that there's something behind it. That is what we want so that we can see what the transparency looks like. And if you're enjoying the music tonight, this is all me playing. I'm very proud of my musical playing, and I love sharing it with people. It's one of my favorite things in the whole world, so I hope if you're listening to it that you're enjoying it. And I really appreciate you being here, just listening to me ramble on while I sort of mess around with this. You know, I always thought I'd be kind of good at doing something like this, but you know, I just started doing it, and it's like better than I even realized. So thank you all for just sitting in and enjoying things. We are going to go back to shading because now we have our object there. We can kind of see it. No, we can't. We cannot see it behind it, so we will go ahead and click our circle again. I'm going to save this so that we don't lose our file this time. And we will go. Seems to me that we do not have the object selected that we want. There we go. Okay, cool. First, transparent needs to be the right color. We're gonna go here. We're gonna make it pretty dark. Not that dark. And that should probably be pretty good. We're gonna turn the factor up. The IOR should be light. There should be like, yep, about that much. Everything else is good there. Let's add glossiness in. And the glossiness color is going to be the same color, but like maybe a little bit brighter. Turn down the roughness so that it's kind of matte. Turn the brightness up slightly. And it's still not like transparent the way that we want it to be. That was some wrong notes. Okay, so what we'll do is we'll add in the translucent. And why don't we just go ahead and replace this entirely. Translucent. We'll move that here. And we are going to make this the right color. A little darker. A little darker. That looks okay. That looks alright. This is what we're going for. Like around there. Doesn't have to be perfect just yet. Okay, now we might even add one more mix shader in here just to get all of them. And just because we're just really trying to get our materials down. I want to be able to make realistic materials. I think that's like one of the #1 things to getting a photorealistic look in Blender. And so I really want to like have my material knowledge down, my texture knowledge. It will make things look really, really good. And you know, right now, this is really not translucent. It really is not. But it's because we're on Eevee, I'm realizing. If we go on to cycles, it might be too translucent, potentially. So we're gonna go to cycles now. This might crash my computer because it crashed it before. And so we are on cycles. We're gonna click rendered mode. And boom! That's looking a little bit more realistic, huh? And so we can see our icosahedron behind it. And that's the first time I've used that word in real life for a while. And we're going to go ahead and check out in layout mode where our camera is positioned, because we do want it to be in a good place. It's pretty good. We saved. I'm going to save again just to be safe. And I'm going to press F12 to render. And we're about to see what could be our final result. Because, I mean, honestly, I think that might be the best that we're going to get tonight. That's pretty good. That's pretty good. And I'd really like to move on to our next project when we get back from break. I might even just do a little chatting if anybody is in chat and wants to talk to me. I'm here to answer any questions about Blender. I'm here to answer questions about gender. I'm here to answer questions about whatever you feel like talking about. I do have a degree in philosophy. I have a degree in music. I have a wealth of experience, and I'm here to talk about whatever you want to talk about. We have made this. I'm going to put it down now, and I am going to go ahead and take a break that I've been talking about for a while before we get into our next project. And I'll show you what that is right now real quick before I do go on break. And we are going to try and make this bowl or plate. This is a decorative leaf plate that I have. Again, it's not the most difficult object, but it's going to be another level on top of this one. This one, the material should be a little bit easier than this one. But the modeling is going to be more tricky for this one. And in particular, if we don't have the topology right, then the shading is going to look incorrect no matter what we do. And this is pretty intricate shading, so we might not succeed. We might not succeed, but we're just having fun tonight. That's the point of the night. And so I'm going to go on break right now.